Hello, Facebook. This is Vanessa Emerson, founder of Dental Speaker Institute and Dental Speakers Bureau. We're here for another episode of DSI Live. I welcome you to tonight where we're going to talk about the first step for dental professionals who would like to become speakers and consultants. And we call this, So You Think You Want to Speak in Dentistry. I'm going to make sure that we are actually live online, which would be tragic if we do this and we don't catch it. So pardon me while I look away for just a moment. And if you are following us, please say hello. We would love for you to chime in. Looks like we have a couple people here already. Thank you so much for joining us. And tonight, we will be talking about those first steps for the speaker and consultant who, for the dental professional who would like to start a speaking and consulting career. This is a conversation that I have frequently with dental professionals. And it's a really important first step that many times people just buzz right past. And ultimately, we'll be talking about having a vision for your life as well as developing a strategy for your business. So let's get rolling. Now, I grew up in a small community in northeastern Arizona, a very small farm and ranching community. And in the home environment there, we had cows, rabbits, chickens, goats. There was typically a horse or cow or goat on the back pasture. My dad had at least a dozen fruit trees, all different kinds of fruit. We had a huge garden. And that was just a normal life for me as a kid. I thought all kids were raised in that environment. Did any of you grow up in that environment? If you did, please type in, give us a yee-haw in the comments. Let us know you're here. Holla. So the environment was really one of a small town country. And I really feel that environment and experience shape us. Would you agree to that? That our environment and our experience really makes a difference in the person that we become. I would tell you that growing a successful garden, for instance, there's some important first steps around vision and strategy. For instance, you don't just throw out seeds and hope that you will have a harvest. And likewise, you don't take the time to plow the field, plant the seeds, and then become impatient and dig them up and eat them because it's taking too long. It's very similar with our businesses. Our businesses, like a garden, are strategically planned. They're grown, they're tended. I remember watching my father. He had this very large garden every year. And I know he had a vision in mind. He had a family of 7 that he had to feed. And so a part of his vision was to have a harvest that would last for months, as well as to be able to share some of that with family and neighbors. And we'd want to have enough to be able to can or bottle or freeze some of that to or put into the root cellar to last us through the rest of the year. So that was the vision. And then there was also a plan in that he would rototill the ground. I remember this was looked like painstaking and back-breaking work as he would create these very long rows. And then he would line up a string. He would stake a string at one end and line it up at the other end to make sure they were straight. And there was a reason for that. When the irrigation waters came, if your rows weren't straight, you're much more likely to have them wash out, and then all that hard work would just be down the drain. So there was definitely a plan there, and we would organically take care of pests, which means that my brothers and I would get a little Gerber baby food jar would be handed to us, and we would go out and pick up the leaves of the squash plants or the tomato plants or whatever, and basically knock the bugs off into a bottle. We were paid, I think it was a penny a piece for each of those bugs. But this was the example that I was shown as a child in having this vision, having a strategy, and following through step by step, and ultimately being able to see that harvest, being able to meet that goal. And I find that to be very motivating and an analogy for us with our businesses, in that we can draw quite a few conclusions from that. And over tonight's presentation, I'd like to share with you the ideas behind a 3-step strategy for growing your speaking and consulting business. And it really comes down to having that vision, creating your strategy, and then taking action. Tonight, we're going to explore the first of a 3-part series where we will also be talking in the coming weeks around executing our strategies and, all of the different resources that are available to help you as speakers. So let me just share with you first that I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. And I would love to answer your questions. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. If it's after this has already been recorded and you're watching later on, feel free to email me, info@thedentalspeaker.com. I'd be happy to set aside some time to talk with you via phone to be able to answer those questions. Pardon me while I look at all these different screens we've got going here to make this work tonight. I also live in a world of more than one right answer. And I would share with you that the strategies I'm going to be sharing with you tonight are what I have found worked for me, what has worked with my clients. They're one of probably multiple right answers on how to launch a business. And this comes really from the many years that I've been working with speakers and consultants. I started my business in 2007. Now into my 12th year, helping dental speakers grow their businesses, and ultimately have been supporting speakers and consultants since 2001. So we're into 18 years now. And so this comes from many years of seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. I also would like to note that speaking and consulting tend to dovetail. And so for the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to refer to speaking, but know that many of the strategies that I share also apply to consulting as well. So this first part of our 3-step strategy, I've been forgetting to hit my slides. We'll push those now. So the first part of this 3-step strategy is this foundation. I call it Envision. It's really book 1 of 3 books, if you'll have it that way. It's about the business of speaking, the foundation, what everything is going to grow off of. In our future Facebook Live sessions, we'll talk about step 2 and step 3, which is really executing and engaging and creating, pulling these resources together. So we will address those later. Now, I talked about I talked about environment and experience shaping us. So back on the farm, back where I was raised, we always had a cat and a dog and all kinds of animals in this farm environment. In fact, I thought everybody in the world had cats because there were cats everywhere, just free roaming between farms and between homes. And all of my friends had cats. My grandma had cats. My cousins had, everybody had cats. And so I was raised in that environment. My mother loved cats, and she would, in our backyard, we had a patio, a carport area where she would give them boxes with blankets and give them food and shelter and water in the wintertime, especially when it was snowing and it was harsh weather conditions. She would take good care of these outdoor cats. We couldn't have them inside. My dad's allergic to animal hair. And so we were not able to have animals inside, but we had a lot of animals outside. And I do think that that's really made a difference in, as you notice in my house, there's cats everywhere. But I would tell you that it didn't really become clear to me that I would have a passion for being an advocate for cats until about 8 years ago, when I was walking our dog one morning and ran across a litter of kittens. And then a few days later, ran across a different litter of kittens just living outside in our subdivision, or, just a block away behind a church. And these little mama kitties were just doing the best they could to raise their babies, but they were community cats. They were what we might call feral. And I just remember at that time, I just couldn't look the other way anymore. And it was something that probably the right time for me with kids leaving the nest, and I was empty nesting a little bit. And so it was the right time for me to be able to put a little more energy and effort there. And so I started bringing food and water to these different kitten groups. And before long, we brought home our first of what has now been over 40 cats in the last 8 years that within my family, we have personally either, rescued and then found a home for, or you got them to a shelter where the shelter adopted them out, or did a TNR. Some cats would not be likely adopted just based on how feral they are. And so those are trapped, neutered, and returned to our community where we feed them daily. In fact, it's almost time to feed the cats this evening. So every day we feed the cats and give them water and give them vetting when they need, when they have a special need to see a vet. And my personal favorite has been foster failing. We do have a fair number of cats at home that for one reason or the other weren't likely to be adopted. And so we've kept them here at home. Now, why do I tell you this? Because it goes back to my ultimate vision for my life. It is to participate with a community effort here in the Phoenix area to create an outdoor cat sanctuary along the lines of the sanctuaries that they have in Hawaii on the island of Lanai has one, and Fresno area, Cat House on the Kings is another outdoor cat sanctuary where they can help cats in a much larger number than I'm able to help here at my home, or that you can help in an indoor facility. My growth of my business, the success of my business is directly tied to my ability to be able to care for more community cats. And so that is something that drives me. As I get up in the morning, it fuels my engine. It helps me ride that roller coaster, that is business and life, and it keeps me motivated. And so I would ask you to think about your life vision. So I don't mean your business vision. I mean, what is it that you want to do with your days? There's a couple of exercises that could help you establish this idea of knowing what you want to do, be, or have. There's also a fun quote that I love from the Cheshire Cat, from Alice in Wonderland, that Cheshire Cat said to Alice when she asked her directions and he asked where she was going, and she said, "Oh, I'm not quite sure." And then he said, "Well, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there." And I really encourage you to think about that, because as you consider starting a new venture with a dental speaking and consulting business, it's really important to know where you want your life to be. I think too many times we jump in thinking, well, I want to do this because I want to help, which is great. I think most people in dental are helping and nurturing kind of people. Or I just really want to speak. I think I'd love to speak. And I think that's really great too. I think we need to think beyond that. In 3, 5, 10, 20, 30 years, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I don't mean I want to travel, unless you really plan to travel all the time. I think it's not about the boat or the house or the trip. What I'd love for you to think about is, what do you want your days to look like? When you get up in the morning, what do you do? What do you spend each day working on? In general, like, do you get up and exercise or meditate or, have spiritual practice of some sort? And then once you're past your morning ritual, what do you do with your day? Do you still work part-time or full-time, or are you involved in charity work, or what does that look like for you? I would encourage you to think about this and really meditate on it, jot down your ideas, and start crafting your life vision. There are a couple of exercises and resources that could help you here. So one is a simple and fun exercise that you might do with a significant other in your life, or a other family member or friend. My husband and I do this occasionally when we hike. We hike every Sunday, and sometimes we get kind of bored for hours out hiking the desert. And so Jeff or I will pop out the question, so what did you do with your $1 billion today? What did you do with your $1 billion today? So if you stopped and thought, if money was really, truly no object, and you had days to live, how would you want to spend your time? That's what I'm talking about. What are the activities, causes, passions that you would pursue? So I want to encourage you to start working on that if you haven't. I find that most professionals I speak to have not done this work. Though we might encourage our doctors that we consult with to be sure they've done it for themselves, we don't always do it for ourselves and for our businesses. So please be sure you do that. And another great resource to help you with this is a book called Making Money is Killing Your Business by the author Chuck Blakeman. You may have heard of Chuck. I know he does some speaking in dental and has for several years now. Chuck Blakeman, Making Money is Killing Your Business. You can get that on Amazon, Barnes Noble, or on his website with the same name. I would encourage you to read about a third of the way in for the vision exercise. And then shortly thereafter, that is the strategic plan exercise, which is what we're going to chat about next. I worked with Chuck several years ago. He's a brilliant coach, and he has some really great business ideas. And so I would encourage you to take that time, read that chapter. The book is excellent, and do the work. Ultimately, what for you is cats for me, is where we're trying to get to. So if you invest that time in soul searching to determine the life goals that your business will support, then you determine the strategic plan that will guide your life and business journey. So let's talk about developing a strategic plan. That's the second phase of this step one, the envision phase of becoming a speaker and consultant. The second part of this first step, develop a strategic plan. A strategic plan is really a blueprint for your business development, and it connects your life vision to your business vision. You have to know where that bus is going in your life. Now, when you think about a strategic plan for your business, I always think about a stool. And each of the, like if this were a stool, and each of these legs of the stool is a different profit center. So profit center, just a different area of your business where you're going to bring in money. For instance, what would you do to make money in a speaking and consulting business? Well, two obvious legs would be speaking and consulting. And some of the others might be product sales. You might develop out a book or some other type of audio or video product, or many people are creating online educational offerings now that they're selling to be able to make money. There's a lot of different ways to bring in money through a speaking and consulting business. I would point out, because I just happen to be thinking about it, that speaking, technically, while it will bring you money, is technically a marketing activity for most people, because it helps you market your consulting. Most speakers will be trying to sell something else, and they go out to speak to get in front of audiences so that those audiences can see them as experts, can see them as thought leaders. And by the time someone has sat through a couple hours of your presentation, they'll have decided if they like you, if they trust you, if they believe you, if they would like to get more from you. And so by the end of a couple hour session, it's very common for someone in the audience or multiple people to approach the speaker to find out, how do I work with you? Or could you share this with my team, or something along those lines? So as you think about your profit centers, just be thinking that, ultimately with the speaking, you probably want to have something besides speaking to be able to make money there as well, because your speaking is going to spin off opportunities for you to sell something else. And so to be able to leverage and maximize that, you'll want that something else to sell. Even if it on the consulting side, sometimes people feel like they don't really want to do like a yearly consulting plan or some kind of a major consulting program. It doesn't have to be like that. It could just be some hourly consulting. You could be a doctor who wants to do more speaking and share your clinical knowledge. And you might offer just some hourly coaching via the phone or via a screen share, like we're doing right here, where you could work one-on-one. I've seen doctors charge $500 an hour for some hourly consulting, and you pick up a couple hours, and that makes sense, financially, for most clinicians to do something like that. I'm not trying to price set or say that everybody would charge $500, because certainly that's a nice hourly, but it is possible. So as we think about this strategic plan, be thinking about what are those different profit centers and start jotting that out for you. I've got an example here that I will show on the screen, a couple different examples of how to do that. In the first, it's really more of like an outline form, like you're going to create a research paper, and you have your sections, and then you have your one A, B, C, D underneath, and you just jot it out. So here, what I have here is under the speaking profit center. In order to grow my speaking, I might want to join Toastmasters and learn more about how to, presentation skills and content development, learn more about the how-to part of speaking. I might want to start actually drafting out my speech if I'm brand new to this. And I might even be thinking about creating a website to be able to highlight and market my speaking. You see where I'm going here. Now, you also might notice I did put some dates on here. If you want to do that and you want to start putting some real structure to this, go for it. In the following segments, especially in the next segment where we talk about so many of the resources that are available, I'll be giving you a lot more ideas on how to market your business and some of the things you can do to grow as a speaker with education and the different groups and different activities you want to be involved in. That's when you're really going to start filling in some of the gaps on your strategic plan. I ultimately would love for you just to get started, because you're going to find out more as we move down through this entire course. But if you are already into this to the point where you feel like you could add dates and start giving yourself some targets to go to, please don't wait for us for that. Please do. And just be sure you bring this with you to our next session. Another way to do this would be more of an hierarchical. Whatever appeals to you would be, I'm sure, would just be fine. Ultimately, I'll share with you, I printed out to share with you what I've done. In the book that I mentioned with Chuck Blakeman, Making Money is Killing Your Business, is where I originally heard of this idea of a strategic plan. And then I've continued to work with it over the years. And Chuck's is very well thought out. It's very organized. It's there's a lot of steps to it. And for my own personality style, I wanted something easier. So mine is really more of a glorified to-do list. So I've got several pages. I just print mine. I keep it right here beside me by my computer every day. And I just broke it down by profit center, and it's really just a to-do list. You can't quite see that. Where I highlight or I'll make notes. I print it probably once a week, and then all throughout the week as I cross things off or I'll make more notes. It's just a way for me to always be keeping my eye on where I'm trying to go. Some of my goals might be this month, this week, today, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. As I look out for over this next year or even future years, I'll have some things in more of a parking lot at the back that I want to be sure and come back to. It's just a way to stay organized. That's what works for me and my personality. There's probably some different programs you could use, like Chuck was using Excel. You could probably find something that you would be able to work best with your personality. And I'll also share with you my vision. I'm going to fold it here in a second, but it's just upper part, my vision statement. It's really, I'll tell you, with my vision, it was more about how my day feels. And it's about being able to spend my days in a simple, happy exercise and meditation and spiritual practice life with my family and my friends and my work and my cats. It pretty much encompasses a whole lot of things, but that's really what it boils down to for me. And I keep this with me. I have a copy of this. I cut it out. Get it up where you can see, but I cut this small little segment and I can carry it in my wallet. I have a copy of it on my vision board that's right behind my computer here, so I see it all the time. And I've also changed it multiple times. When I first started the vision exercise, I thought I wanted to have a farm myself and grow organic apples and have a business around apples. But as I became more involved with cats in our community, my life and my environment and my experiences changed me. Just like they change you, and things can flex, and we all want to be able to flex. And so then that shifted for me to where I still would love to have homemade organic applesauce. And maybe I'll find somebody who grows them, but I feel much more passionate at this point around cats. And I would encourage you to think about, what do you really want? And then let's look at a strategy to be able to help you grow that through speaking and consulting and seeing if that feels like it's the right fit for you. So we're going to circle back around and flesh this out more in our next episode. And if you have any questions, I'm looking to see if we have any questions. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, info@thedentalspeaker.com. I appreciate, we've had several people here hanging with us, so I'm sorry I can't see who you are, but thank you for saying hello. I'm using BeLive.tv for any of you who are new to Facebook Live and are looking for a good solution. It's a great solution. It just doesn't show me who you are. It just says that there's somebody there. So thanks again for listening in. And before we go, I would love to share with you a little bit about our upcoming Jumpstart 2019 conference. We're seeing here some of the speakers who will be speaking at the event. And it's a 3-day conference, January 3rd through 5th, 2019. You can learn more about Jumpstart at jumpstart2019.com. We will have 3 full days, very full days of really diving deep, helping you develop as speakers, both the content development, presentation skills, as well as the business of dentistry. We will have a competition, which will be really fun. We're also going to have some other attendees who have a chance to showcase some of their presentations throughout that. Those spots have been filled by those who registered early. And in addition to that, we'll have a lot of networking opportunities and some panels, and be able to hear from some people who've been speaking for a lot of years. Our attendees are anywhere from brand new speakers or people even considering speaking, all the way to those who've been speaking for 40 years or more. So it will be a really great, awesome opportunity for those who are interested in furthering their dental speaking. Dental Speaker Institute really is an educational offering, which is offering a master's program for the professional dental speaker and an opportunity to earn a designation. So if you'd like to learn more about Dental Speaker Institute, we are new. Visit us at dentalspeakerinstitute.com. And thanks you again for tuning in tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free, info@thedentalspeaker.com. Again, I'm Vanessa Emerson, and thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, be well.